Hello, everyone. Welcome to Who You Are. This is a show where we talk to musicians and just artists in general in the music scene and just get to know who they are. Joining us today is the ever talented Joel Orford. You probably know them best as the guitarist and violinist of Lagerstein. How are you, man?
Ahoy, everybody. I'm going good. Thanks so much for having me. And like we are just talking about, it's bloody hot today and trucking along, but very keen to dig into my favorite thing, which is music.
Yeah, fuck. No, so I guess where we like to start with everyone is just get to know how they got into music and the music industry. So for you, where did it all start?
So there's kind of two answers there, I guess. Like I started playing music as a child. My mum plays piano, and I remember watching her play and then asking if I could have piano lessons. And that was when I was 9, I believe. So I'm 29 now. And then I
Happy
took up the
anniversary.
violin. Yeah, very good. And then I took up the violin a year later from that, and basically I've been playing music ever since in heaps and heaps of different groups. Especially through school, I played in like the string quartets. I was in the Toowoomba Orchestra. I played jazz bands with the piano and big bands and choirs. So I kind of did the rounds there. School music thing, the Stedford circuit. Uh, and then I was about like 16 when I just really fell in love with heavy metal, and that was kind of like my thing when I was then like that age. But Lagerstein now, my kind of main project, I was part of the band when we started it in 2010. It was just some Brisbane friends. So I'm originally from Toowoomba, and I came to Brisbane to go do some classical piano at the conservatorium here. And I met one of the other players there everyone was kind of a part of some different bands at the time. Some like, if for everyone listening, Lagerstein is like a kind of folk pirate band. So a bit silly, a lot of fun. But at the time, we were all playing in these kind of symphonic death metal bands. And we put together Lagerstein as a bit of a more relaxed side project that could just not be as serious. But then as fate decided, the joke kind of not serious project became the most serious thing ever. And all the death metal bands don't exist anymore.
Oh wow. No, that's kind of shows you what Australia prefers in terms of music almost too. Enjoy that fun side kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Like basically since we've come a long way since gig one, but we always really were amazed and enjoyed the kind of infectious energy of just having fun on
Yeah,
stage.
definitely. Yeah. So being having fun is a big part of Lagerstein. And also Lagerstein is all self-made, which is really impressive considering what you guys have got going. And then that also rolls into I think you've got Keg Stand Productions. Is what else you got going on. What was it like in the beginning trying to get that off the ground, get Lagerstein and Keg Stand off the ground?
So Kickstand originally came about just as a kind of way, like you said, to help get Lagerstein off the ground. Because originally with Lagerstein, we were just focused on, just being normal band dudes and just playing as much as we can. And then in 2013, we went and did our first tour of Europe. And I remember coming back from that especially with my fellow guitarists, who are my kind of main partners in the band and the other original members. And we were just blown away by just this incredible experience of going on tour over in Europe, being in a nightliner and meeting these headlining bands who do this professionally. And like I was 21 at the time, and just really, it just really drove into my head that like this is actually something real that just real people are doing. You don't have to be a magician to do it. And it was after we came back from that we kind of really stepped it up with Lagerstein and started learning about how the music business works And it's been a really long road. Like still now, 7 years after that tour, I'm still learning constantly. But it was really, that kind of swap of seeing that and realizing that we were going to go just balls out to make this a professional career with Lagerstein. And I mean, that's still exactly what we do now. And then likewise, say with something like Keg Stand Productions, because I work with my partner there, we put on just concepts basically. And, that was born out of originally putting on concerts for Lagerstein. And well, the majority of my work in Keg Stand before this year has just been Lagerstein. It wasn't until this year that we decided to take it beyond just the work we'd done there. But, they kind of overlapped. It's like, in the industry, and this isn't 100% true, but it is something I've noticed that, people have a little bit of skepticism in dealing with bands directly at a kind of higher level. And they just have a sense that, it's just kind of people are used to what they're comfortable with, right? And so Cake Stand originally just became a kind of more professional face. I would introduce myself through Keg Stand as, hey, I'm Joel and I'm the booking agent or manager for Lagerstein, and use this as a kind of different angle and not necessarily hide the fact that I was in Lagerstein. But you know what I mean? Instead of it just coming directly, hey, can we have a gig from the band? Okay. And, it was kind of like that really started to shape in my mind just what all of because I can see like, you're doing a music channel and you obviously play music and have a lot of instruments there. There's like so many different behind the scenes roles that go into music at a professional level though, beyond just the pure musicianship. Yeah. And it was kind of like that delving into Cake Stand was the beginning of trying to really think about what are those roles and how can we fill them in our own business.
Wow, that's an incredible realization to come to. Definitely, I get what you mean when you say that doing music as a musician, it's realizing that all of the behind the scenes stuff that goes into it is a big part of it, and it is really hard to navigate that kind of world. How do you have, if like for the listeners who are trying to navigate that world, would you have any advice for trying to navigate a world like that?
Keep talking, I'll show you my best advice.
Oh, best advice. Here we go. What do we got?
This book, guys,
Oh.
all you need to know about the music business, written by Taylor Swift's lawyer. Do you
Hey.
know who is he? Chance the Rapper. Do you know
Oh, yeah.
Chance?
Yeah, yeah.
I watched a documentary done by his, like a YouTube one by his manager, and that dude recommended this book. But that's a really great start if you're interested in what all of the different kind of players are in a musician's career. Yeah. But like, my advice is just to keep your eyes open, is the most important thing in the beginning, and try and really wonder, like, even at your local level and in just your own scenes, who are the kind of people who are making this function and what are they doing, and get to know them and ask them, can I help you with anything? The best way to learn is to just do. I've definitely learned all of my stuff by getting out and just doing it and putting on these shows and releasing these albums and like stuffing it up really badly and then being like, why, how could this be better? That's always the question, just like, how could this be better?
That's a very good point. Like, I know personally, I struggle with trying to get things going because you do it and then you fail, and then, but you kind of have to step back and think, how do you make it better? You failed, so what? Move forward. That comes easier to some than others. Uh, that's a struggle that a lot of people deal with. What's your views on people who struggle with trying to keep themselves motivated after they fall down? Because it's really hard to get back up, especially nowadays with all that's going on. It's a bit of a loaded question.
I'm just saying the most important thing is your vision for yourself, and not just as a musician, but just as a human being with your life. It's that vision of what you want to achieve that drives you. And without that vision, then when you fail, you'll just be put off. But you just have to want it so bad that it just becomes agony to not try. Like that's really all there is to it. It's like, and it's not a matter of just pumping yourself up. You need to have that clear vision of what you want to achieve, both as an artist and as in business. And it's having that dream, because you are gonna fuck it up just constantly and make mistakes. And there's no two ways about it. And it's without having that vision, without that, it is easy to just not get back on the horse and just ride it off. I think that at least, for me and for my team, that's what drives us, is just this incredible vision of wanting to spread this message of joy and fun and partying to as many places and as many people around the world as possible. And it's just, and also seeing just the impact that you already can have and have had, that like the reception that we get from our fans all over the world it's enough proof that this is something good and something worth doing. But in those early days, especially when you're beginning something new, you just have to tap into like, what does your heart want for yourself, and just let that be your guide.
Yeah, definitely. Does it help having people around you that share that same goal and can push you in the same directions, like when you're starting off? Because it seems like you had that with Lagerstein, especially at the start for that.
Yeah, I think 100%. Like the people who are around you are the most important thing, basically, that you want to get people who share that vision with you. And in an ideal sense, if we're talking about, like bands, which are always collections of people, and most bands are, you know what I mean? There are bands where there's just a leader and then they kind of have their sessions, but that's not that common, especially in the underground. And I think that you really want to like first bring your own personal vision in of what do I want out of this band and what do I want out of myself as a musician and artist, and then forge together that vision. Like my will alone wouldn't have been enough for Lagerstein to do what we've done. It's the fact that we have this indomitable spirit as a band. And I always say that I think we've been really lucky that it seemed from day one that it was just, we'd already decided it was going to be the biggest possible thing it can be. And we never had to ask. And I think that if you're laboring away and you feel like everyone isn't keen enough, then that you can't drag people there is the main thing I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
You all have to work really, really bad.
I it's yeah, it's always a group effort. It's definitely I think that definitely makes it easier, and it's definitely good to have people around you. Um, yeah. So I guess I want to swing real quick. I had a conversation to you a while ago. Like, you're a really passionate person, and you seem really passionate about education. I remember having a conversation with you about education. So I just wanted to talk to you about your passion for education. Tell us a bit about where that comes from, and then what you're doing with it.
So I have worked in education, especially just like music teaching, quite a lot. Since I was 16, I first started teaching children. And then since then, I've worked with close to maybe like 300 individuals or something, adults and children. And it's something that I always enjoyed, because I found, especially when I was a bit younger, as far as different jobs went, this one was great because I got to just hang out and play music with people and have fun, you know what I mean? And that was going to be better than packing shelves or something like this. And then for myself, I'm just obsessed with learning, like whatever the topic is. Like my main kind of like vocational trainings in philosophy rather than in music. I have my degree in that. And I think that it was then that I really forged this idea for myself that I can't learn enough. And so I look at education as a way of kind of giving back that I can both round off my own skills of what I know, because you do learn a lot when you teach, and also just help kind of share that joy with people, because I feel like sometimes as artists we can become so just like inwardly focused on like, this is my music and this is my story I'm telling. And I really found that the teaching has been a nice way to step away from like my own bullshit basically, and just be able to focus a little bit more on someone else. So like at the moment, and the project that you're alluding to is I'm kind of working on this online course for me. And it's coming along quite well. It's taking me a little longer than I had hoped to create it all, because it's a weird year, as I'm sure everyone knows listening. And it's kind of been full of some ups and downs in terms of both work and also like emotional ups and downs, like with that energy to create. But I am really, really excited with this project, because I'm kind of really wanting to do a little bit of a revolution, at least I think, of teaching for adult musicians. Adult beginners, that is. Because I think it's something like, this year, Toby, my kind of thing as a musician has been jams. And I've been just really focusing in a lot on just like spontaneous music. I've been going sometimes to take my violin. If I hear that there's a jam going on, I'll go to that and take my violin and just play. And I think that this is something that's like, I've really seen this year that it's an amazing experience. And I love the way that it's so kind of, it just ends. Whereas when we're doing something as professional musicians, say like Lagerstein is, it's really about this kind of trying to nut something out in concrete. Here's our albums. Here's our show that we do at the same time. And it's always this really professional, high level thing. And that has a great joy to it. But I also think as I kind of get more and more involved in music as an artist, that it doesn't have to only be this very serious, high level, perfected thing. And what I'm really excited with in building this course, and kind of wanting to create this a little bit new movement, is trying to say that, music, it's not just for the professionals, and it's not about being really good, but it's actually about just like, it's kind of your right as like a human being with a human being's body and brain, that you just feel music and you are musical. And that I really want to help inspire people to discover that in themselves, and to make music that really, or to make music become just something that they do in their life. Because, and you would know this, that you meet people and like, it's pretty rare to meet someone who isn't into music. Like they do exist and God bless them, but there's not many of them, right? But there's not that many musicians, but there's heaps of people who they might even like their whole identity of who they are, all the way down to what they look and how they spend their money on holidays and stuff, could all be about music and how they love to listen to music. But they aren't expressing themselves musically. They don't play music. And I meet them as I tour and go on the road. And they say things to me like, I'm just not musical, or I just don't know how. And I just think that it's like, this isn't my kind of story, but it's a kind of common thing that as we're getting it more into the modern world, music, it's kind of splitting off between like the professionals and the fans. And it's like, like now it's like people go and experience really pro people play, and their job is to be the receiver, the audience. And I think while I'm into that, and that is also my path to play these really cool shows, it doesn't have to be the only story. And that music is also something that we can just do when we're sitting around with our friends, having a beer, having a J, just playing. Or you're hanging out with your grandma or something, and you're just singing some old songs. And this is also music, and that you can tap into that and kind of, experience your musical self. So that's kind of what I'm trying to capture in this new course that I'm creating. And I mean, I say I'm creating a course, but really what I want to create is a community. And and help reframe this question in people's minds. Because I think music education right now, it's so focused on children, and it's so focused on making like virtuosos, basically. You know what I mean? It's like it's gearing you towards like here's your exam and getting better and better and better.
That classical mindset. I had that
Yeah.
in school too. Yeah, it's
And I mean, while I did that all the way going up to tertiary and doing it, and I feel like it worked for me, and I can see that it worked for me, but I think that there are a lot of lost people along the way. And you're kind of like, just because I had that kind of natural inclination, it like you don't count all the people who were like hated that and then have basically closed off like that part of themselves, even though they're just still obsessed with music and listening to it all the time and singing the songs in the car. So yeah, that's kind of something that I have been thinking about this year. And especially like I said earlier, where I feel like sometimes I just get a bit sick of like being so focused on myself and my own story. And it's like, this is Joel's music and I'm creating this and I've got to do this, like this video clip or this tour about my thing. And I'm really quite excited about turning that around and being able to make a project that can serve people a bit more. Though I say that, I do see my music also as there to serve people, to bring them joy. But yeah.
It sounds like your time with Lagerstein has kind of influenced this kind of mood, and I think this is definitely something we do need because I grew up and came through the classical, and I was one of those people who kind of lost the love for it and my love for music by doing the classical thing, just because sometimes it's a little bit alienating. Um, I only fell back into it when I did a music technology degree and went back up, but it's really important, I think, and that's something we really need. And I don't know, I'm a little blown away and a little bit not. I don't find a lot of people who are trying to push for this kind of thing. Um, have you found that? What is it like? What have you seen around you in terms of this music education thing?
Well, yeah, this was really my kind of intuition in being involved in the industry. And to everyone listening, like I'm not as deep a teacher as some other people. I'm way more being focused on the performing side. But like I said, I've worked with hundreds of students now, and I really felt like there's some awesome work being done with kids. And I think that music education more than ever is trying to make itself more fun for kids. But I just think that it's a damn shame that adults could go their whole life and not experience that just feeling of like expressing their musicality. I think that it's like, it'd be like not speaking or something, that like, it shouldn't be like this. And that I think it's this problem of like focusing that music should be left to the professionals or something, some kind of story like this. And that's really been my intuition, and just meeting and seeing people saying it to me so often, and especially, in like the heavy metal world where the people are diehard and they all like, they look like they're into music. You know what I mean? Like they shape their whole identity and being. And what I'm doing is not just for heavy metalers or something, but that's just what I've seen a lot. And it just fascinates me that it's like, we don't like we don't dress ourselves based on kind of what like TV shows we're into. Or we don't, you know what I mean? And I just found this really interesting, that music has such power that people really create their identities around it. And yet they're alienated from kind of their own musicality. And yeah, I don't know. That's just something that I feel like I see. And especially this year where I've really come home after traveling so much and kind of having a bit more time to myself and thinking, what more can I do beyond just the performing? And like, because I have been getting back and I was thinking, I'm going to get back into teaching, but I felt like, it's not really me to necessarily just be like in a room working one-on-one and feeling like I want to do something more and combine, my love for business and for philosophy and having meaning, and also my kind of the joy I've felt from having a worldwide impact with Lagerstein, and feeling like, how can I do a similar kind of action in this realm instead of just keeping the teaching really insular and being like, well, I'll just do some ads in my local neighborhood and I'll get some kids in. Because I mean, that's great as well, but I feel like I want to do something that really touches the hearts of as many people as possible, and especially those adults.
Definitely. That's oh geez, there's so much to unpackage there. But so what are you currently doing, I guess, to achieve this? What is more into the specifics of the current plan for your education for adults thing? Tell us a bit about that.
So at the moment, I'm developing. It's the working title. So don't hold me to this, but I think it's going to be it. It's called 91 Notes, and it's a 91-day course. And what it's focused on is, because, like I was saying, I want it to be your first steps into music. If you love music, but you've never done it. So I'm trying to create something that is like not instrument specific. You can bring any instrument you want, including the voice, to it. And that its focus is, instead of being focused on like music in a kind of theoretical and mathematical way, because we can get really deep down that rabbit hole, but I think that its focus is actually just on playing and creating music with your body. So each week you'll be getting like a new kind of track, and I'm composing all the songs for it. And that it will be focused around improvisation, but not improvisation as in just like solos, but like experimenting musically around the tracks, and then getting a heap of different genres and songs to play with. And then also a little bit kind of philosophical ideas about like, what is music, or what does it mean to be musical? And what I'm finding though is that this idea, it's like every day, the more I work on it, the more it comes to life and builds itself of what it should be. And at the moment, my main focus on this is getting a kind of finished draft of the course. But I'm having this vision that with the online thing, that I want to kind of create this online community where the students are putting their videos up. Because another thing I learned through my adult students in the past is they can often be quite anxious about performing and sharing what they're doing. And I want to make this really the forefront of the course, is that it's not for playing in front of 1,000 people at a festival, but it's for sharing. It's not for hiding with yourself. It's for playing to your children, or it's for jamming with your mates. Or if you don't have any mates and you're too scared to do that, then you're going to chuck it in the group and you're going to film yourself on a phone. And all of these students, as well as myself, will be able to kind of like bounce back and have this ongoing feedback and sharing, not feedback like learning, but feedback like you're doing it. You know what I mean? You are being musical.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've like you've got that technically with like YouTube and stuff, but those are very big and daunting communities. So having this kind of smaller community where you can start and then build out from there is like it's a step that I think is missing from a lot of um it's without that step not a lot of people get into music, so it's kind of bridging that gap between the
Yeah.
beginning and the off we go stage.
That's it. And I mean, I've been inspired a lot. Like the online learning is just this amazing, booming kind of space. And YouTube being the ultimate teacher of everything, basically, like, love you. But also, I've seen, say, like with a lot of fitness programs and PTs online and stuff, and, they're doing awesome things by having like dedicated Facebook groups and having courses. And I think that I'm trying to draw a lot of inspiration from like that. Like, I think that this sense of community and of like joint purpose, it's kind of important in all projects. I see that with Lagerstein, both of like, say, our little mini community of the 7 band members, but also the kind of larger one of us and our fans, of like, enjoy this music and what are we trying to give to them through creating this. And then also, say, in this learning community. So I am really, really excited for this. And, sometimes I do get a little bit like, oh, is this it? Like, do I just want to be touring or something? But then I remind myself that I think that, like I keep saying, I want to create something that gives and help people really find this thing in themselves. Because, sometimes I reflect on my own journey as a musician, and I think it's all happened by accident. Like, I got it just basically for free because I, as a child, just started playing so much that I've always been a musician. And I think, it's lucky is what I mean to say, that happened to me and that I'm here now. And I feel like it's kind of, if I can take that gift and luck and share that to others, then that's something worth doing.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think that's probably a good place to leave it. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been quite quite insightful. And yeah, keep us posted on your the education thing. It'll be good when that comes out.
100%. I'm really hoping I can have it start to see the light of day in the next couple of months, really. Because I mean, I'm a real big believer in projects that you kind of just don't have to know how, but just do it and it will kind of sort itself out. So you just get it going, you know what I mean? The same with what you're doing here. And then you just get better, and before you know it, you look over your shoulder and it's happened, basically. So no, thank you so much, Toby, for including me here. It was really fun to chat. And to everyone listening, if you want to check out some awesome pirate tunes, go on Spotify. There's some Lagerstein party times up there.
Check them out; they're pretty solid. Watch some of their videos too; they're quite nuts. But no, thanks for joining us, and yeah, we'll see everyone next time.